By the way,
Only
am
a
I
fool.
hosting this episode? Just so I know before we do the introductions, and I'm like, what? I'm hosting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lead us through it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
White as, yes, white as. Okay, are we? Do you want to start? I can start it.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
Yes. Okay. All right. Ready and go. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Proxy Podcast. We're on episode 8. We're getting closer and closer to the double digits, baby. Let's go. Today we're just going to be doing a little catch-up episode, so no guest, and as far as I'm aware, no mini game, unfortunately. But don't worry, those will be coming back soon. We wanted to get a podcast out, and we've all been busy, so we're gonna do a little catch-up. 8 already? I know, it's crazy. I know, time flies when you're having fun. But anyway,
Exactly.
thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. And yeah, so my name is Az. I stream on YouTube and Twitch, mainly Zenless Lore, but I'm starting my HSR catch up, which is going to be like 70 plus hours of stuff to do.
Yeah,
so yeah, if you're
you've
interested
been
in that,
grinding it.
I know. Check that out. Age. How you
Hi,
been?
I'm Age. I also do a lot of Zenless content. I play Zenless, Wuthering Waves, Honkai Star Rail, and Reverse 1999. So yeah, it's a good time. And I post reactions and make covers on YouTube sometimes. So what's up?
And Josh.
I'm just here. Yeah, I'm just here vibing. Hello everybody.
Yeah.
It's your boy. I'll be honest. I've kind of just been grinding a bunch of videos. I have barely seen the light of day. But you know, we're out here.
I feel that. I really do. I
Yeah.
have so many videos that I'm cooking up, and I had my first sponsorship video
Yeah.
that I'll be able to post soon. Yeah. But yeah, so Aid, you just got back from a trip though. Where did you go? How was that?
Oh my god, I went to Montreal with some of my friends for the weekend. We've been planning it for a while. It was just like a weekend trip, and then we went to the botanical gardens, the biodome, the planetarium, and kind of like chilled, ate some food. It was raining the entire time though. It started raining while we were on the train, and then it proceeded to continue raining for the entire trip. It wasn't like heavy raining the entire time, but it was definitely drizzling the entire trip. And then the moment we got on the train to go back home, guess what happened? The
You
sun
missed it?
came
Oh.
Oh!
I was waiting for when you were gonna mention the
It
missed
always-
train. I was like, wait, which one did you miss?
Who would miss a train? What are you talking
Right,
about?
right,
That
right,
sounds
right.
like such a stupid thing to do, you know? Only an absolute fool would ever miss their train. I got invited to attend like the Reverse 1999 event in LA on Saturday. So
Amazing.
I literally like found out about it the day before I left for the Montreal trip. So then I spent a lot of the Montreal like train ride and trip just like on my spotty ass train internet trying to look up stuff and do research on flights.
Okay, but
So,
a
yeah, I
little
have just
more on the
been
Reverse 99
scrambling.
event though. Is it kind of like, is it for like an anniversary, or is it like just a creator event, or what's going on?
It's
What's the party?
yeah, it's a fan event for the 1.5 anniversary,
Okay.
which is the current patch. So then, it's funny. I actually discovered this literally just now because I just started the newest patch story. But so the newest patch's story takes place in LA, in Chinatown,
Oh.
LA.
Oh,
Right? So then
Is
they're
that where
also
the event's
hosting
at?
like a fan event in LA for this patch story,
Okay.
which is like really really cool. I thought it just was in LA because everything's in LA, you know. But yeah, so it's a fan
Where's it
event
at
and
in
it's
LA?
free. But
Well,
yeah,
Josh,
I'm
what have
excited.
you been up to?
Damn,
in this
man, I
what?
went to Costco yesterday.
Yo,
You have a
let's
Costco
go.
membership? No way.
Costco,
Hype.
No,
What you get? What you stock up on?
I got sushi because they make sushi now. I
Oh,
got,
really?
yeah. At least in the
Wow.
around my area, they started been making sushi. I don't know why, like it's gone like super bougie. I went over to this, not my regular Costco, but this other Costco. They had this like crazy mall complex, and I kid you not, and I was telling my chat earlier about this. I kid you not, like 50%, if I were to take a census, 50% of the women were walking dogs. And then the other 50% of the women were going over to the women with the dogs and petting them. Like it was the most like, and funny enough, kind of related to LA, is like the most like Hollywood, like Beverly Hills type of like neighborhood I'd ever been in. I was baffled.
Yeah,
It was a bizarre experience, like you walked out of a movie.
No, exactly. No, it dead ass was. Yeah.
Whenever I went to, oh, sorry, keep going.
No. I was about to say like it doesn't have Erewhon, but it has like you know the salad place.
Oh, Erewhon. I just found out about Erewhon over the weekend. I did not know it existed.
When you go to LA, you gotta get the Bieber shake for us, and then you gotta give us your rating.
The $20 Bieber shake.
Yes.
Well, I'll try to see if I can spot one.
You know, everyone's all should have like a shake station. At least that's what I remember of people visiting.
That's so weird.
They have like they sell like a single strawberry for like $50. Like it's the most bougie thing I've ever seen.
$50.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like this amazingly delicious strawberry that's like kind of bigger than a normal strawberry, I guess, but it's like $50 for one or something similar to that.
No, thank you.
Nuts.
You know how many pulls I could get for? I'm kidding. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Enough about ourselves. Yeah.
Back to what you guys really care about.
Yeah. Back to the title of the podcast. Yeah. So we haven't been together since 1.7 started, huh?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk about it. Oh,
yeah, we didn't talk about 1.7 yet.
We haven't. We literally haven't talked about 1.7 at all. I don't think.
Okay.
So, we'll start with age. Have you've played it, right? Did you play it before you went on the trip?
Yeah. I played. Oh my god, I had a like 14-hour stream before I left on my trip because I was determined to finish the story before I left. It was so messy because you know how we talked about this before. When you stream for too long on YouTube, you have to split the VOD.
Yeah.
So then I split the VOD.
No.
Yeah.
So I did that. No, it worked. But then I don't even wait. What happened? I think my internet? I think my internet like crashed near the end.
No.
This is the second time that it's happened in the recent patches, by the way. Like at the end of 1.6, when I was finishing Trigger's agent story, my internet crashed literally on the last line of dialogue. I was one line of dialogue away from finishing the story, and my internet crashed. So then when I went back the next day to finish it, there was one line of dialogue, and it was done.
That's crazy.
I had a great time. It was a very bizarre experience for me because it was such a chaotic stream. So honestly, a bit of a fever dream playing through it, but I really enjoyed it. I liked it. It was a nice end to what they were building up in 1.6. There are still some like loose ends.
I mean, there's a lot.
Points. There's a lot of loose ends. But in terms of like Hugo and Vivian's character arcs, I am pretty happy with them, and they were nice. It was nice. I will never complain if Hugo's on my screen with Lycon.
Right, especially if he's tied to a chair.
Yeah, and then Lycon's like, leaning closer.
We're like, what are we doing? Bro looked up, gave that crazy ass smirk. They even had the hot like breath from his
the evil Hugo whispering in your ear. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I lost.
For me, I was looking forward to, of course, how they tied up a lot of the storylines in part 1. This is the patch leading up to 2.0. I was looking at
transition.
Yeah, I was looking at how they were going to set up 2.0 and who they were going to bring in, what kind of concepts they were going to bring in, what ideas, terminologies that they were going to bring to help bridge us over to 2.0. And of course, I wasn't expecting, and I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about her very shortly. Jshoea showed up very quickly to start off the part 2 story, and I was very, very happy.
I have some words.
Actually, no, I completely forgot about that.
I do have. So I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until you like finish your story thing, and then I'll do my little rant.
Okay. Cause for me, of course we want to marvel at the amazing character design. But
the bountiful character
the
design.
bountiful, yes. The power creep. And again, this is my own opinion. When I first heard her when she started speaking, like I don't know if it was like the software that they used to record or something. It sounded a little bit more robotic for a character than
really?
at least my interpretation, and maybe that's just me. Maybe it's my headset. Maybe it's my maybe it's the software or something. I don't know. But to me, in my experience, like I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for her to speak. And then she sounded a little bit more like monotonous than I was expecting her to be. I wasn't expecting like Jane Doe breathing down like your neck and ears, like I wasn't expecting that. When it comes to Chinese American, or like let's say more central Chinese American, I'm not saying that they have to like have an accent, but like there's like a way that they enunciate English words. And I was expecting, I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if we could get some of that, like, Chinese to like American or Chinese English sort of like tonalities and intonations and stuff like that. I thought would have been a really cool touch for me, but not a bad voice, of course. Not saying that, but that was my first like gut impression of her. That was like, oh, this is something that I was like wasn't expecting out of her. But overall, she had a great entrance.
Yeah, interesting. Apparently, a lot of chat agreed that I guess some people thought that she sounded AI-ish. That's crazy. I actually didn't get that vibe at all. I really enjoyed her voice. I do think it would have been cool if they did do that like what you were saying. But I don't. Have they ever done that? I mean, I think it would be cool, but did they do that for Leeway, like in Genshin? Or
no.
Like have different accents for characters, you mean?
Yeah, and like the Ian dub, or like the Xianzhou for HSR. Did they do that there either?
See, I actually thought that they were kind of doing that with Yishuan because, like, I know she doesn't have a super heavy accent, but she definitely has a bit of an accent when she speaks, which was something that I did notice and liked. I think that might also maybe have something to do with why she sounds a bit more monotonous, because maybe I don't know if English is like the first language of the voice actor or not, but sometimes when people are speaking with a bit more of an accent, it might they might not like sound as natural sometimes because they're trying to enunciate a certain way. So
fair.
That's one of the reasons why you thought that, or like people might feel that it sounds a little bit more monotonous compared to normal. But yeah, I honestly didn't really think about the voice at all. I do have thoughts about Yishuan as a whole, like in terms of the patch though, that and I didn't remember until just now. But I know Az wanted to talk first, so Az, you can go first if you want.
Anyway, so this is the lowest rating story that I've given any of the story patches, and that's not because I didn't enjoy it. I did still enjoy it. And I said this on Twitter. I gave it a 6 out of 10. And the reason why was because a big part of it was there wasn't really a lot of lore for me to like bite into and kind of theorize about, because it was a lot of just watching the setup happen that we saw in 1.6.
Yeah,
which is fine.
I feel that.
There's nothing wrong with that. However, it did kind of feel like they could have written this in a way better direction without including Dina. Because
I have a point on that after.
Yeah, like I'm gonna be honest, Dina's character was not really it. I think Dina actually, the way that they wrote Dina and her group of the Exhaltists gave a very, very poor impression on what the Exhaltists are. They used Dina as the first real introduction to people as to who the Exhaltists are, and she technically isn't like with the real Exhaltist, because the branch that she's operating is already dead. Like it died with Landon. So she's like trying to scrounge what's left and do her own little operation. And it just didn't really feel good. Like it didn't feel like an introduction for the main faction, like main enemy group that it should have been. So that I didn't really enjoy. That brought it down a little bit. This didn't bring my point down, but I thought it was really funny that when we were on the roof after the Yishwin like interaction, or like maybe it was a little bit before, or whatever, and they escaped, it said
in a car. In a car, I saw that.
And they drove off, and I said, "A car? We're on the top of a
roof right now?
skyscraper. What do you mean a car?" I was like, "Did they need a helicopter?"
No. They found a fissure to drive into. You know,
right.
They had the path.
Exactly. I was like, that must be an accident. And then chat was like, no, there was a sound effect of a car. And I was like, there's literally no way. Like I'm telling you right now, it was not a car. Like that was an accident. They definitely it was a flying car that came in. Again, I thought I was gonna really like Dina because they introduced her as like, oh my god, she's like kind of a leader of the Exhaltists. And I was like, oh, what? That's crazy. And then she was like literally just fodder. So that was not cool. The introduction to Yishwin. Okay, let's talk about that. I thought it was cool. She came on screen and she ore farmed, which, you know, classic. When did they not do that? But then she dipped immediately. Like, it felt way too forced. Even at the end, they were like, yo, the mayor, I have someone that's going to train you. You should go talk to them. Yishwin comes in for 5 seconds. Hey, I want to talk to you. I'll do that later. And then leaves. And then comes back later and goes, hey, go on this errand with me. I'm going to train you later. And then leaves again. And I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? Can we get like a proper introduction? There was nothing. There was like no actual food there. And I understand why they did it this way. And I or at least I think I understand why they did it this way, because in the dev talk, okay, the Chinese dev talk, which was like way longer than ours, it was like an hour and a half long. They talked about how the community has complained that sometimes character introductions will happen and they will not know why we're so close to them. The main example being Astra, because by the time that she came in on the story, we technically already met her through Snap when she was controlling Snap during the event. And so for the people that didn't either pay attention to the event, didn't read it, or didn't play it, had no idea. So by the time we met her and we were like, she was like, oh, we've already met before, blah, blah, blah. Then everyone was confused. And so they said that they're trying to do a better way of like introducing newer characters as opposed to doing like the little teases like that, because it can be missed. Okay. But they need to not do it like this, where they literally just not like this.
Like, hello.
Where she comes in and says hello, and then there was no reason for her to be there. Yeah, her reason was, I wanted to just see how you are, and then said we had a cool aura, and then left. Like I feel like that part as a whole really could have been written a lot better. Another point was they never actually explained how Hugo didn't die from the fall. They never said how he got out of the hollow. Which I'm assuming it's just he fell in a fissure. But they didn't ever actually explain it. So he just showed up and was like, Lycon was in on it. And it's like, okay, cool. You did get thrown off a building, though. So how did that happen? How did you live that? But yeah. Overall, it was still very fun. It was a very fun patch. I enjoyed it. There's just a few things. Mainly, the big thing that brought it down was the introduction to Yishwin and the fact that the Exhaltists now have an impression of being like pushovers.
Yeah, I actually, like, on the Dina point, I actually kind of like thought about this too, and I think I mentioned it when I was playing it as well. But I feel like the entire Dina Vivian story arc kind of played out in a really similar way for me to Anby and Twiggy's character arc. Like, as I was playing it, I know like there's different scenarios, but there was just like they kind of like how they had their parallel paths, and then they kind of like diverged their paths and then came back together to have this sort of conflict in the end. I know that's a very like general like overview. thing, but just I think the way that it played out, I don't fully know how to describe it, but I think especially after having just played Anby's character story in the previous story, maybe it's also to do with the fact, like you said, that I didn't feel like Dina was a particularly strong character on her own. I feel like Dina's entire personality and her entire story was kind of reliant on her just being really jealous of Vivian and the fact that she kind of turned out for the better. And then I saw a lot of like parallels between Dina and then Twiggy, in the same sense that Twiggy also was really jealous of Anby and how they kind of were on the same path, and then one of them ended up having like a better outcome and then came back to kind of like have this like not last minute, but like a very like end of the line Hail Mary to try to find some purpose to essentially like give their life purpose, and then ended up like going boom. So that was like one of the things I didn't particularly think that was super strong about the patch, because like you said, in terms of the story itself, we didn't learn too much apart from what we already knew before. They did gloss over a lot of things, like you mentioned, that at the end of 1.6 they didn't really elaborate too hard on exactly what went down with Hugo's plan. They just kind of explained like, oh, Lycon was in on it, he was helping it. To be completely honest, was just gooning really hard while I was playing this entire thing. So I didn't notice at the time. But after hearing you discuss that, it does feel a lot emptier than my initial reaction to everything that was going down, because Hugo's character arc was cool, and then we did learn a lot about Hugo as in his terms of his philosophies, I guess, and who he is as a person. And then we also learned a bit more about Vivian and get a bit of depth for her character. But apart from that, they never really went down. I thought they were going to, explore more of the whole Yishuan mayor storyline that would lead us into 2.0.
Yeah.
Right? So then when Yishuan showed up, I was like, oh my god, okay, it's time. It's time for us to learn more about 2.0. Like, what's going on with the mayor? What's going on with everything as a whole? What's going to lead us into having to go to the new region and wanting to figure out, like, the truth of what's going down there? And then, like you said, she just disappeared. And then, actually, I completely forgot that she was in the story until the very end, in which we just kind of like talked to her, and there was a bit of a nothing burger there. So yeah, like plot wise, it really wasn't that strong, actually, now that I've had some time to hear your guys' thoughts about it too. And I've taken off my lens, my gooning lens a little bit.
And I want to quickly, from YouTube side, I'm not trashing 1.7 story. I'm still saying that it also, okay, let me get into
we're
this.
doubling down. That shit was twat.
I am gonna double down. I do, because there are a lot of writing issues that are showing up within the most recent stories. And I'm not gonna act like that they're not there. Okay, I still love Zenless. I still love the story. Just because the writing like has been a little messy recently doesn't mean and like and that I'm saying that doesn't mean I love it any less. But you have to give feedback when feedback is needed. Okay, so I 100% believe that the reason why this is a little messy is because of the fact that the TV mode, okay, when it was removed, they did have to pivot. Okay, they mentioned that. They've said it multiple times. They've had to pivot drastically from what they were doing. Like, for example, I guarantee you that they probably had an entire TV mode for when we got to Hartman's little like thing when we were there with Vivian, because we didn't we didn't interact with anyone, we didn't see the venue, we didn't do anything there. And so I guarantee you a lot of that was TV that was just straight up ripped, and they didn't have time to replace it with the new Bangboo fall mode or like whatever, due to the fact that they're like, okay, let's hard focus on 2.0. So I do think that they are like a lot of the stuff that we are complaining about now will not be present in 2.0, just because they are really trying to focus in and have 2.0 as like a proper relaunch of the game. Has like 1.4 is like a soft boot. 2.0 is going to be like the full boot, because now they're going to be able to start getting their foot underneath them on how they're doing things without the TV mode. So I don't think that the devs are like caring less and they're just making more mistakes. Like, for example, the car on the skyscraper picking them up. But one thing that I will say is, again, I'm not hating on the story, okay? I'm just giving feedback. One thing that now let me just say what I love about the story. I do like that they did kind of expand on the Exhaltists a little bit. We do now know that there are different branches in different regions that kind of operate under their own little thing. And so that was cool. We learned that Landon was actually the one who created the original prototypes of the serum. So the serums were technically created under Landon, so that's cool. We have a name to that thing now. What else? We know a little bit more about sacrifices. Technically, now I understand why sacrifices are not the only sacrifice that's labeled in game.
Okay.
Is Bringer, and I think I understand why now. Because even though they're calling the other like sacrifices,
Yeah.
they're technically failed sacrifices. Because the only successful one so far has been Bringer, and what counts them as successful is when they keep their individuality, they keep their sentience. Yes, those two are counted as ethereals. They're not counted as sacrifices, even though in game they are referred to as a sacrifice every single time.
Gotcha.
So I'm pretty sure that's like the game's understanding of like,
Okay.
what it is. So that's cool to know like why that happened.
Because like if I recall in the story of 1.4, like and this might have been the difference between what we see as a fully realized sacrifice and not. He got injected with a second serum. No?
Yes, but he kept his sentience the first time. And also
That's
I
fair.
did because
That's fair.
I'm literally writing, it's almost done. I'm making an Exhaltist
Oh.
video right now, but the serum was like the same color and consistency as the one that Sarah shot in him. So I don't think those were two separate. I think it was she just gave him a second dose because he was like kicked down. And so that was kind of like a get back in the fight type of deal. Especially because she didn't say 2 different serums were successful. She just said the one. And I can't imagine that they would want to test one serum when it's mixed with a different serum, because that would technically give different results. So I do think that it was the same, which is P07 is the successful serum.
Okay.
But yeah, so there's the answer to that. Where was I before you asked that?
Sacrifices.
What was I saying?
We were wrapping up the sacrifices and
the siblings power. Yeah,
That
so we
was
can
big
manipulate
reveal.
ether energy.
yeah.
Here's the thing. I said out on my stream afterwards, like obviously I was hyped and I was like, oh my god, what is happening? But then when they're like, oh, you're just manipulating ether energy, I was like, oh, okay. So here's the thing. It makes sense. I'm not saying that it's like this is the answer to like literally everything, but the fact that we can manipulate energy, like ether energy, does kind of tie in with a few things that I was curious about. One, being it does explain why we survived Bringer's little ether explosion, because we used the eyes to just manipulate the ether energy to not affect us. And then also, technically, the reason why our eyes did the little thing when the sacrifice tried to assimilate all machinery was because Eos was nearby. Eos technically counts as machinery. But the reason why Eos didn't get absorbed was because we probably passively, without knowing, used the power through Eos to not have Eos be connected. And that's why we had our eyes do the little flicker thing the same way that it happens the other time that we use the powers, when Bringer did it and then when we did it here. Because the little glitch thing happens every time we use the power, not just the logo. I know the logo showed up. Okay. I know that's new. But I do think that they will definitely still say that we're using the power without having that logo come up. That logo comes up when we overclock ourselves. Okay, that's when we go crazy.
That's when
with
we
the
use
power.
our global passive.
No, we're parrying it. It's our parry.
Yeah, exactly. We're parrying it. I do think that it would be really interesting if it ties into the thing that I've mentioned before, where the fissures are too convenient. I do think that the fissures, we are actually still creating the fissures without knowing. Passively, if we can manipulate ether energy, then there's nothing saying we can't affect ether to create a fissure. because there's been way too many instances in where we're saved by a fissure every single time. And so if that happens, right, where
Yeah.
we're just passively doing it on accident, then it's because we're manipulating it.
Yeah.
So I think that would be
Makes
cool.
sense.
Yeah. So there's more that I could go into on like the MC's powers, but I don't. What do you guys think? What are your guys' take on everything I just said?
I was curious. I kind of wanted to ask you, since you know more about it. But you know how the Exhaltists are so kind of obsessed with combining humanity and the power of the etheric matter. So is it in a way us, the siblings, are we in a sense kind of like a successful experiment that maybe the Exhaltists are trying to replicate? Do you think?
I think we were created to counteract the Exaltist. I think that that's what Carol
Hmm.
was actively trying to go for, but due to what we can do, the Exaltist want to be able to use it for themselves, and that's why they
Mm.
kidnapped Carol. Because they're probably,
Oh.
because
Okay.
technically Carol's not dead. We don't have confirmation that Carol's dead. They said that she was taken by the hand during the fall. So there is a chance that maybe the serum is successful because Carol's like helping them. Not on like her own, like she wants to, but like she's
Yeah.
literally being tortured too. So I think that would be interesting, but I don't think that, or sorry, I think that our power was originally created to counteract what they're doing. But now, yes, they are pursuing it to try to do their own thing.
Okay.
Interesting.
Josh, what? Because you said, I'm curious. You were one of the people that said that you didn't really know the Exaltist too much when 1.6 happened, when they started name dropping the Exaltist, right?
You know
So
me.
I'm curious, what was your impression of the Exaltist after Dina?
To me, I was kind of more focused on the character in and of herself, more so kind of like to Age's
Mhm.
point, where I didn't necessarily like directly made her out as a reference with the Exaltists. More so, I'm just like, oh yeah, she's just literally a tool for her for Landon, and
Yeah.
a tool out of the system that basically crafted her to now be who she is, and all the psychological, like I'm like looking at her and what she's saying, I'm like, bro, are you dumb, stupid, or dumb? Because what you're saying doesn't make any sense to a regular person, but like to
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
who's
She was on some copium.
like she is the definition of daddy issues, because that's how they crafted her to be, right, within this messed up society, and to now as kind of that foothold, utilizing that her as essentially a glorified plot device. Now we get to
Yeah.
see the Exaltists in such a way that some of the chatters are like, yeah, but like we'll get to see like what they are now in the future, and I'm very hopeful. And to you guys, excuse me, to my chat, you guys know I'm a huge anime fan, and hey, I'm not gonna say they ripped off Fire Force, but the white clad is eerily familiar within like the tropes, like even some of the designs. You take a look at the 2.0 trailer of the head priestess Exaltus looking character. He looks baller, by the way, but I'm like, he looks very similar to some of the white clad members, and I'm just like, I hope that the execution of it goes well, and like the aura and the presence, right, really falls through. Because yeah, I can see from your perspective, right, as that from what the exposure we get from Dina, man, it doesn't seem like and when it came to Sarah and Bringer, they seemed even that much more menacing in
Yeah.
that sense. So Dina somewhat was a step
Yeah.
back, but understandably that Dina was coming from this broken branch, didn't have a lot of resources, really is just like scrounging and hanging on by this like last thread of like her identity as a daughter, as an Exaltus member, right? And just us clipping that last little thread, like understandably isn't going to be as impactful, right? The dog's already dying in Minecraft, so we gotta put him down, versus like going up against a force or seeing them up
Yeah.
front face to face. So
Yeah.
I will say, what Dina's character did for me was make me feel awful for Camille. Literally,
Yeah.
Camille. I was like,
Camille
dude,
just took L's
rest
left
in
and right.
peace. I was like, I'm so sorry. Your sacrifice was worth
Was for
literally
nothing.
I took 3 clips, and it is within the span of 10 minutes. It's Camille says her speech. Camille says, "I love you." Camille dies.
Yeah.
It was Camille sacrificed herself for Dina, dies. Dina kills herself. Like all within the span of like
That
10,
sequence
15
of
minutes.
events.
I was like, there's no way. I was like, please tell me this is not gonna happen. But yeah, I think, funny enough, I said that it was a poor introduction to the Exhaltists. I think if they actually did this in an earlier patch, and they kind of used them before they did the Sarah Bringer thing, and then used Sarah Bringer as like an example that there is a more powerful branch, then I think it would tie in a little bit better. I think the reason why it feels or it leaves a bad taste in my mouth right now is because the entire point of season 2 is the Exhaltists. Like they literally said like season 2 we're going to learn the reason the HDD was created and the true plan behind the Exhaltists. So if they're trying to set the Exhaltists up now, like they're being now the like bringing to the forefront, I think it's weird that this being used as a way to usher us into that plot line was as like poor as it was.
Fair.
I don't know. Maybe it's like it was better here than it was than it would be if it was placed earlier. I do think that the Exhaltist will be executed correctly in season 2, especially because they have a literal like actual base.
Yeah,
at the
and they
new
have the
area.
actual like people. Like we saw
Yeah.
them in their like outfits, the cult outfits, and we saw Sarah lurking herself. Yeah, like the idea of bringing up the Sarah and Bringer first. Yeah, I 100% agree. They, to me, are like the highest kind of power that we know of the Exhaltists thus far, right? So then going from someone like Sarah, who has been consistently so smart, so in power behind the scenes, she has caused so many things to happen in the story thus far, to go to this like kind of like separate subsect branch that, in a way, I know this is like a very harsh way of summarizing it, but was essentially a very troubled girl kind of like throwing a bit of a tantrum while trying to find purpose, really like does like diminish the whole Exhaltist, the idea of the Exhaltist a bit in my head in terms of their scale, I would say. I think it makes sense that, obviously not everyone in the Exhaltist is going to be like Sarah and Bringer, but then if you're going from like the most powerful figure to like the less powerful figures, the less powerful figures are not going to really feel that impactful when they appear and when they're acting as the main antagonist. Because throughout the 1.7, I know, like, she was technically part of the Exhaltists, like, this entire branch, and that was, like, a big point. But at the same time, I didn't really feel that way. I really only saw Dina more as a plot device to kind of push Vivian's character arc forward. She more served the purpose of helping Vivian kind of come into herself and find out, like, what she truly feels and how she wanted to move on from her past, rather than actually pushing forward the storyline of the Exhaltists or whatnot. Like, that honestly to me felt like a much more like secondary, just kind of like, okay. And it's also like this whole, and on the side, it's related to the Exhaltists, and then like Camille is like sacrificing herself, but then Dina just kills herself anyway. So then
Yeah.
so then it actually that sequence of events too also subsequently makes me feel like Camille's character also served no purpose, right? Because her entire purpose was to try to, show her saving and giving Dina this second chance, but then Dina just, offs herself immediately after her sacrifice, so then you have no time to really absorb and feel that sacrifice because you're immediately just like throwing it away right in the next scene, which has a cool cutscene. And then immediately after that cutscene, then you have the big lore drop with Vivian and Faithin and the whole like ether manipulation stuff. So like the entire like last section there honestly felt like a bit rushed, I would say, because it's just like plot point after plot point, and you don't really get a chance to absorb everything that's going on at the time. So yeah, but as a whole, like, yeah, because you guys were talking a lot about the Exhaltists and their role and how it kind of and how they're perceived now post Dina. And yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely do think that the fact that I didn't even feel like the Exhaltists was the main point of the patch, even though it was such like an important thing in the grand scheme of the story, I think says a bit about, how the story writing was in 1.7 in isolation.
Mhm.
And again, I also had the whole I felt like it was just kind of like a reiteration of the Anby Twiggy thing, but with a different organization, right?
Yeah.
In terms of okay, there's they're going down their separate paths, and then now it's one is going to suffer, and then the other one's going to be sort of fine, or at least is going to grow from it. And then
Yeah,
I liked Vivian's arc itself, but then the fact that everything that was kind of contributing to Vivian's arc was more throwaway is a little sad, I guess, especially because it's related to the main story and the main concepts that have been trying to be built up, especially leading into 2.0. But I do 100% agree and think that they are probably kind of washing their hands a bit of the rest of 1.x to really build up 2.0.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Wua did, because I think the latter part of 1.x for Wua was also very they just kind of okay, we're just gonna focus on the kind of new soft launch of the next big region, and we're gonna really nail it. So I'm just really looking forward to hopefully them nailing 2.0 onwards and really being able to find their groove with balancing the lack of TV mode and them having to kind of restructure how they're gonna tell the story. I have faith in the devs, and I am really excited to see what kind of direction they're going to take the story as well. Because I do feel like they are... The thing about Zenless, it's I really don't know what direction the story is going. Because they could go down so many different paths. Just with the ether, the hollows, the concept of it as a whole. So I find that really exciting that there's so much unknown in the future that we can possibly explore.
I do think so. There's a lot of points that I'm going to touch on for what you said there. But going to the start of everything that was there, I was about to say it before Zenpai said it in chat, but I will give some defense to Camille's death during Dina's arc thing, because I agree. I do think it would have been very cliche if Dina did actually change her mind from Camille doing her sacrifice. So I think it was a great way to show that yes, sometimes people are too far gone. And there isn't really anything that you can do to change their mind.
I just wish they took a bit more time to let us absorb it before going straight into the cutscene.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because I like Camille a lot. I think that Camille's arc was quite sad, especially with the results.
I agree. I did right before she did. I was like, "Why are you making me like Camille right when she's about to kill herself?" In Minecraft.
Yeah.
But I will agree. Okay. I don't think Vivian's arc felt forced. I will touch on my thoughts on Vivian's arc here. Because like you said, I do think that is interesting. I think I saw it as oh, this is going to get more into the Exhaltists just because I'm so interested in what the Exhaltists are doing. But technically you're right. Technically the Exhaltists thing was kind of secondary to it being Vivian's arc. 100%. So taking it in that perspective, then my question is why I'm still upset that they didn't really give us an answer on how Vivian has her power, which I guess they could still go into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But they didn't really touch on how she has this ability, which I was really thinking that they would. And also they, okay. The entire time they've been treating the viewer they up to this point that they know what they're doing. They can read, they can figure stuff out on their own. They're very quickly learning that a lot of the community cannot do that. Not outing, not shitting on the community, but that's just how it is. Not a lot of people read everything. Not a lot of people try to find the underlying meaning of a lot of the dialogue and text that's given. And it kind of pissed me off when the game tried to tell me no one would have thought that locket opened, when there was quite literally a divide down the middle of the locket where you can clearly see that it opens, and they're like, "Ah, it opens! The core's
oh my god, there's something inside!"
It was with us the
And I was
time.
I was like, dude, it was, why are you telling it to me no one could believe that this thing opened? It was so clear that this thing opened. And yeah, that was kind of annoying. And yeah, I was like, "Duh, what do you mean it doesn't look like it can open? It literally has a divide down the entire middle section of the necklace." But yeah, I do think that they will do a lot better in 2.0. I know they're cooking up a lot of stuff with 2.0. Like you said, the direction that they could take the overall story of Zenless is in so many different directions, and it's going to be so interesting in how they actually do it. It seems like they are using 2.0 to, they said they're straying away from like the grounded a little bit, and they're going a little bit more on the mystic side, which we can see with like the mystic arts and Yishuin.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in how that actually all ties in, but I think that they are going to be going through different themes, obviously, with each season. So season 2 is going to be a little bit more like mystical than what we're used to, which I know is probably going to irk a lot of people. But then I think at season 3 and beyond, we'll be like going away from the mystical stuff for a little bit, and it'll be like a little balance between the two. One other thing that I think is interesting that they left open, which I think you touched on a little bit earlier, but I think it's interesting that they had Anby in 1.6 to deal with Hartman, because Hartman was the one doing the organ stuff. And then Anby and Trigger had no follow-up. They had zero follow-up on Hartman at all. And not only did they not have any follow-up, we also didn't take care of Hartman. Because all Hugo did was destroy his like image in the public. But we didn't kill him. We didn't throw him in a hollow. We didn't do it. We literally walked out of his house. And then he was like, come back! That was it. he didn't have any bullets in his gun, so he couldn't do anything. But I think it's interesting that, like Hugo said, okay, his family doesn't just like stop. They keep going until they get what they want.
Yeah.
So I think they left it like they just left a clear opening to bring Hartman back at some point, like in some way. Which I hope is Anby's like, dude, where'd you leave him? Where'd you leave him? Let me go get his ass or something. But yeah, I thought it was interesting that we just straight up left. Like we just left him. Like
we pieced out.
Yeah, we just pieced out, and then he's just like left as an open thing. But we did get to see a little bit more of Mr. Edmund on the TV. Technically we saw less. We saw less of him, but we got to hear him. We did get to hear him this time. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Mr. Edmund, because I'm assuming Mr. Edmund will be linked in with season 2 also. Since he seems to be clearly a part of the actual Exhaltists and not what Hartman was. Hartman was chasing Dina and the fake like branch, but Edmund seems to be a part of the real branch, like the strong unified branch. So I'm curious where that point will lead.
Yeah, like once we get the actual big players and tops involved, because so far they've just kind of been doing their own thing on the side. We've mostly just been dealing with the people who are trying to, like Hartman was kissing ass, right? He was kissing up. He was trying to get on Edmund's good side. So once we actually have the people with the power starting to make their moves in a real big way, it's going to be probably very insane. Yeah, I'm just really interested to see like how the politics of tops and the organizations will also play into the new area, because I know like the 2.0 area is still technically under the jurisdiction of tops and like all of the current organizations, right?
It's still within New Area, yeah. So the Wei-Fei, the new area is the Wei-Fei Peninsula, or the Wei-Fei Peninsula. But the Wei-Fei Peninsula is within the Throne Quarter, which is technically where Jane's from. Like Jane's little ID says that she's from the Throne Quarter, so it's all still within New Eridu. It's not like we're like leaving and going to a whole new like place. So yeah, like PubSec and HIA is still active. And just tops in general, like all the tops companies are still going to be active in the new area. In fact, they even say in the trailer, they talk about how Porcelain is kind of like Porcelain's
like they say inside the hollow. There's
tops.
like that old aerospace thing where they are like pretty active. That thing?
Well, aerospace is where the mining facilities are. That's where like the big factories are that mine Porcelain. But she was saying that tops have like the power with Porcelain. So
Mm.
that's gonna still lead in with what like tops is still gonna be a big thing. And then if the Exhaltists are so strong within tops, then that means Exhaltists are using Porcelain for their own stuff. So that was 1.7.
Story.
Yeah.
It was very good. Oh yeah, did you guys do the flower event? I saw some people talking about the flower event.
Not yet. But you guys can talk about it. If you
I
want,
still have yet to
honestly.
do any. Is it actually like? Is there like lore relevancy
really
or
good.
anything with
There
it?
is
Yeah,
lore.
apparently.
There is actually really cool lore relevance in this. Yeah, it's pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie. So I don't know if I want to talk about it because I want to let you. I want to
Yeah,
let
because
you.
me
I wanna
and
let you
Age,
see it,
we haven't
especially
done
if
it.
I'm the only one. Yeah, I wouldn't even really be able to talk to you about it. I would just be like, dude, look at this cool thing.
I mean, hey, we haven't even recapped our Fall Guys Bangboo, game
Bangboo.
night
Oh yeah, how did
weekend.
that go?
It was good. Well, we had some technical difficulties. I don't know.
Oh, of course.
Is
Yeah,
that why you
so-
guys slightly underperformed round one?
Wow, is that really where you're going with this? Interesting. So no, actually,
Oh,
we
interesting.
underperformed in round one because we got absolutely dogged on.
Really quickly, just to kind of reintroduce Fall Guys Bangboo event. This is the second time I've hosted a game night for 16 creators and creatives. Basically, just bringing a bunch of people around Zenless Zone Zero, including these folk. We had us three as well as a bunch of others in the very first one. I believe it was like 1.4 or 1.5 when they introduced the Bangboo Fall Guys game mode. And then now I hosted it again, brought in some old folk, brought in some new folk. This time we actually got some of the voice actors. We got Sam Slade.
I saw.
We had Henry Schrader, Courtney Steele. We were supposed to have Alice Humora, who's the voice of Nekomata, but had an IRL situation. And then a bunch of other Zenless Zone Zero peeps. Yeah, this time around we had to like change up the format because it's all ranked. For you guys are enjoying
Matchmaking?
ranked. And that's the thing. The matchmaking, oh my god. Was it
longer because it had to
terrible.
like MMR?
No, it's not even that, but it was just like the games, like physically, they're harder. Like,
Oh, really?
so from our preliminary round, we had to grind to diamond, because without it, there was like a queue like break off. So like if you were gold, you can't play with gold if you're diamond, you can't play with gold and under.
There was the rank difference.
Yeah, there's like a rank cutoff thing. So everybody had to get past the rank, which I mean that's not hard. So we just did that. Everyone was in diamond, so we were all good. So then we actually start the game night officially, and I guess as Ren and their team, arguably, I think this is why they had so much trouble. It's because they performed the best in the first 30 minutes. And they actually got, they were so good that they actually got to the tier higher than Diamond, which was like the Ether rank. If you guys want to correct me in chat, if it's the Ether rank or something, or like the whatever the highest rank is. So some of them were actually already in the highest rank, and majority of everybody else was like, we just got to Diamond. So I believe that's where the skill discrepancy thing came through.
That's such a good excuse. How did I never think of that? Dude,
yeah.
I should have thought of that right off the start. That's exactly
Elo.
why. That is exactly why we had the performance issues in round one. That's right. That's right. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah. I got you, man. I got you. Like, no joke.
Legitimately, I think you might be right.
Like, you
Actual
guys
MMR
on
difference.
paper had the strongest team. On paper, you guys had the strongest team, and you guys were pretty much all Ether rank, right? You guys were all Ether rank, whereas my team, I had the most ragtag. Oh my god, my team. Sam,
Not the slander. You're throwing your teammates under the bus, Josh.
Sam is screaming. Box is screaming. Kevin is such a nice guy. For those who don't know, my team was a hodgepodge of we were like not Zenless Zone Zero creators except for myself. We had Sam Slay, Kekvin, who does HSR and sometimes Genshin, and now he's dipping his toes into Zenless Zone Zero content.
Welcome
and
in.
then Box 2, who majoritively does variety, gacha, and HSR.
Oh my god.
So none of these folk play Zenless Zone Zero, let alone the Bangboo Fall Guys game event. So we barely scraped into diamond.
Meanwhile, I had Courtney, who was just the sweetest in the world the entire time, and also dived off on accident every time. Sorry, Courtney.
It's okay. She was inspired by you in the first one.
Right, that's right. Thank you, Age. Thank you, Age. That's exactly right. Right. But yeah. So we had my team. I don't think we had the least amount of wins in the first round, but we went like 5 games in a row without winning like a single point. Because and I think you're right. We were in the higher elo, and I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
They had to nerf you.
I will say we worked about, because at the end we had the most amount of wins.
Yeah.
But that's not how the rules work, so we lost. We got third. But it was still really fun. I will say the fact that the ranked mode is there, and now the other players like that you're being ranked with actually know what the hell the game is. It was a lot more fun, but it was definitely a lot more stressful as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Every win's more satisfying when the competition is actually fierce.
Yeah.
Yes,
But then
exactly.
survival mode, the platformer was like twice as long. Because
Yes,
everybody knew how to play generally.
it was a
Oh.
death sentence if you got the survive, where it was the thing, because that thing would last like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It felt like.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if
Everyone's
it was
doing
actually
the
5
hopping
minutes.
strat one
And
tile
dude,
at a time.
4 minutes, and like not a single person's died, and it's like, okay, what are we doing? Like, when is this gonna end? When is this gonna end? I thought it was gonna be a lot harder to get to Ether. I didn't think it was gonna be a situation of you do 7 games and now you're in the highest rank, and then the highest rank goes to 99,000 whatever.
Yeah.
I think it was 9,999. So I was gonna do a stream of like playing the Fall Guy mode until we reached Ether. And then I was like, okay, well, now I'm gonna do a stream that's going till we reach 9,999. Like, stream doesn't end until we get that.
Mm.
After playing the tournament, I was like, guys, the stream is off. We're not doing that. I was like, it's gonna take me
half-hour
17
stream, let's go.
hours. Yeah, it's gonna be 17 hours.
Oh.
Over 17 hours for sure. Because it's literally, I calculated it as if I won every game. Okay, if I won every game, it would take 200 games, around 200 games. And if it averaged about 3 minutes per game, it would take about 10 hours. That's if I got first place every single time, which isn't going to happen. And that's also if it's only 3 minutes, which once we got into the higher rank and the survival was 14 hours long per match, that's going to take way longer. And I was like, yeah, we're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
Well, they made an actual ranked mode, because I thought it was going to be, a lot simpler compared to, how most games will have, like competitive games will have a ranked mode, right? And you have to play a shit ton of games to get to the higher ranks. I'm impressed by the fact that they actually scaled it up so much, because I assumed it was just going to be something a lot simpler, kind of like the first Bangboo Fall Guys, where, you probably, like you said, you play, let's say, like maybe 100 games and you can get to the max rank, right? But it sounds pretty intense.
Yeah, so it's just weird that it's like 7 games to get to the highest rank, and then that rank just has like points that go up to 9,999. And it's like, okay, cool. But yeah, I mean, I also thought, I could have sworn they said it was going to be permanent. But it says the event ends in 14 days.
Maybe that's just the limited rewards.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's probably going to be like the fishing event, right? Where the limited rewards end in 14 days, but then the event will get moved to the Redo Chronicles tab, where it becomes permanent, and then you can continue grinding up the ranked ladder at your own leisure.
Yeah, true. I didn't think about the limited rewards. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But
But if it is a permanent event, I mean, it is a permanent event, it'll be really exciting in the future when they expand it, because I think they will. I think they might add more game modes or even add more maps to the existing game modes, because now that you have a ranked system in play, right? They already set it up. It's done. It's there.
Yeah.
Now you can do that with so many other game modes and mini games that they might make in the future. So The game is becoming so much more.
I think they
It's like
realized.
expanding down so many different paths.
No, they literally during the dev talk, they were like, they made it a note to like talk about the Bangboo Fall Guys. They're like, we see you guys really like this, so
Yeah.
we're gonna continue.
Yeah, we
to
see the
give you-
hours.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna continue to give you guys stuff that you guys really like, and like all those metrics, like seeing Zenless Zone Zero take those in, like, and you know, and this might be another side conversation because I just looked at the Not Cry dev talk trailer that came out, what was it, about
Oh.
yesterday, and I think that's an interesting
Genshin?
conversation. Yeah, Genshin Impact. Like, contrary to that, in whereas that direction doesn't seem to align with what the players want, Zenless Zone Zero and their dev team are like, okay, yeah, this is clearly like apples to apples. You want more, we give you more, you know?
And it's a really smart way to get players to continue playing the game as well, like just as a whole. Because you know, like gacha games, they need the play time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They need to
Then
bring
you know,
the
there's some
co-op
other
in.
games they get the play time through, you know, maybe expanding dialogue a little bit too much, not naming names, but
Yeah.
you know, having the mini games, right? It's like they see us being addicted to the mini games. They see us spending hours in there. So you know, rather than forcing us to sit through stuff we don't want to sit through, it's like, okay, here. Take our Bangboo Fall Guys, take our mini games. You guys can grind away, okay? Go for it. Go crazy.
Yeah. Before I forget, because I completely forgot, this is a huge topic that we absolutely should talk about during this podcast. The trip marketing for 2.0, the characters.
Oh,
Panda Man.
I'm so excited for him.
He's so cool looking.
Hanyu.
He-
Initial
first of all-
thoughts.
Oh,
They look great. They look great. But I am surprised they put Yishuan like the first banner. I thought they were gonna
Yeah.
save her for later, kind of like Miyabi, but it seems like we're coming straight out the gate with the big ones. So
Yeah, if she was a Void Hunter, then I think they would not have put her at 2.0 because they would have built up like they did with Miyabi, which they definitely will with the next Void Hunter, like the actual Void Hunter.
Mhm.
Yep.
She's her own rank, whatever it may be called. She had her own special logo. I think it's cool that they're not afraid to add in a new element.
Mhm.
Or new element and class, actually.
And
She's like a new element and a class.
Yes.
Which you guys know I don't look at leaks. I have no idea how that stuff works, what it actually is. But the fact that they are introducing an entire new thing where they probably have to like really go in and add to game systems to have other skills and stuff like interact with the new like thing is a lot of work, which they already had a lot of work to do in 2.0. I will say though, I am incredibly surprised that Zhufufu is an S rank. I
Same.
really thought she was gonna be an A rank, but after seeing the little like, I love her voice. She's such a cutie pie.
She's really cute.
And seeing the little like character quotes, like interactions. Did you see those for Zhufufu?
Oh, I don't think I saw the actual like.
I
quotes
am
themselves.
going to pull up Yishuan's like quote for Zhufufu because it's so adorable. And I cannot wait to see them interact like on
It's like
screen.
she's scared of Jufufu, no, or something like that.
No, well, she was joking about it, but it was she's like playing. Here it is. Yishuan said, "Do I always listen to what she says? Maybe. I mean, who dares to disobey this super scary tiger?" Which is really cute.
That's like so fond.
I know. So I'm really excited to see their interactions because I know it's gonna be like a mother-daughter like situation.
And then we throw in
yeah.
Pan. It's probably gonna be like the funny uncle, or that it's gonna be
Yes.
such a funny little like goofy family dynamic between them.
Exactly. With season 2 in the dev talk, they mentioned that they really want to focus on character, like deeper character interactions and connections, and not forgetting the old characters. They like specifically said they don't want to leave the old characters from season 1 in the past. They'll find ways to bring them in.
Yeah.
Which I think is gonna be super interesting. How they'll do that? Probably just super simple stuff like Jane has a mission, right, in the Waifei Peninsula.
Yeah.
Bellabog could have like a construction project that's in the Waifei Peninsula. But we've already talked about how like that's one of my favorite things about Zenless is the character
Mhm.
interactions.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're like focusing on that in season 2 makes me really excited, but also a little scared because they did say in season 1 storytelling was very lighthearted. Very weird to say. Which, if you're telling me we're focusing on character connections and it's not going to be as lighthearted, what are we talking about here? Like, what?
That like, oh yeah, lighthearted, but we had human trafficking, we had suicides, we
Yep.
like a bunch of stuff.
Insurance fraud.
But I think like in terms of that, right, from my perspective of like, oh, how could it get worse than this, is like they're gonna dive a little bit deeper into like how much either can actually corrupt a human or like a human body or like just like manipulate reality.
Yeah, we've kind of
in my
dipped our
opinion.
toe in it, but they could take it really far with like the kind of mentalities.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think they might actually show us a little bit of the actual devastation of the fall of the old
Yeah.
capital, because they said that we're going into like why the HDD was built. 2.0 should also be the patch where we get Lost Void. If we don't, I understand, because it's like there's a lot going on. But Lost Void is where we're gonna like we're learning currently about the Dark Wall, and that's where we're gonna start learning about the previous Void Hunters. So if they start like explaining stories that like they saw or actually showing us things that happened during then, there's gonna be probably a lot of death. So it'll be interesting.
I'm just curious. I'm just really curious what direction they want to take the story in and the game itself. So
Yeah.
our Denny's are already in a dire situation.
I know, true. I hope they. Well, actually, I feel like I haven't really had any Denny issues recently.
I think it's fine. Like, I think when we were trying to build
Josh, are
all the
you?
characters. Oh, Josh. I mean, Josh is more into the building and meta, but
actually crying right now.
I'm a builder. Yeah.
like I did run out of Denny's recently, so I do run into it sometimes. But it's a lot less bad than when the game first started because there was so many more characters to pull for. Because now it's just like every patch, you just like you build the new characters and then it's a bit more chill. But I mean, Josh will definitely experience this a bit more than us, considering he does the building.
Dude, was it last podcast did we talk about like the anniversary and our anniversary expectations just a little bit?
I think we did.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Smidge?
Go into that conversation because I feel like we have other stuff still here that we want to address. But in terms of anniversary, I'm like, sure, the polls are great. Give me some extra resources because like if you want us to continue to play the game, we gotta build and use these characters, right? Genuinely, if you're trying to promote these characters, sure, grabbing the characters is one thing. But like, if we can't use them in the level of content that we're at, if we don't have the proper drive to see, if we don't have the W engine like at level 60, that takes at least 4 million Denny's core, at least D or E, everything else. Like it adds up a lot. So I'm really hoping that hopefully, a larger region, more events, more quests to do, because, I think that's also why people are running out as well, because we are done with like the core, region of sorts as far as, 6th Street and Luminous City. And we are running out of actual just mainstay permanent quests to do. But it would be nice as well as if, we just got a few extra million Denny's thrown at us our way.
So if new players are coming to the game, they're going to need lots of rewards to start building their characters, because it's like still bad now, like as a player, but when we first started, it was so bad building characters because there's so many characters to build when you first start, right?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I feel like the Denny thing is a problem, or could still be a problem. I actually don't feel like the drive disc thing is as bad as it is in other games.
Fair.
We have
Like they give
shop.
us not only do we have the music shop, but they don't gatekeep the tuning calipers. They give us one in the end game like shop that resets. They give us one like almost every event completion. We get one.
Yeah,
we get one in the battle pass, right?
But I get your point. No, Genshin was bad. No, Genshin just started to add that stuff a little bit more. But no. To your point, yeah, like Zenless Zone Zero is from the previous titles has start the gate out with all that stuff. So you are right.
But yeah, on the side quest note though, yeah, I think it'd be really nice if in 2.0, okay, I still have a huge backlog of side quests to do, so but I have heard a lot of other people's opinions about how they wish that it would be nice if they could add more side quests in, like actual, like with the NPCs where you get to
Yeah.
like spend some time doing these side stories. Like they had a lot of those on launch. As far as I'm aware, please correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they've really added new side quests to the game really since the beginning.
No,
They
you are
did.
right.
They
Have
have.
they?
They've added like one. Okay, so one point. The outer ring had a good bit.
Right.
And by a good
Okay,
bit, I
okay.
mean like it had like 3 or 4, I think.
Okay,
I
okay.
think 1.3 added like 1. 1.4 added like 2. But the ones that they do add are not nearly as in depth. Except that one, chat. Oh my god, I love Venus. I love Venus so much. She's my favorite. I love that quest. That quest was really good. It was actually like a long one, and it
Yeah.
brought my goat Kami North back into play. We better see Kami North in the White Bay Peninsula, or I'm gonna be sad.
Like making it more
And do
stuff
like less
permanent
events or
would
something.
help with like the FOMO and
Exactly.
feeling
Yeah.
like you need to constantly be completing all of the events because it's going to go away. Because they did mention that in the dev stream that they're going to try to lower the fatigue. I wonder if one of the ways they're going to lower the fatigue is just to make the events last longer. So rather than have them like sporadically like throughout the patch, only like the event only lasts for like 2 weeks and then it's gone and then the next event comes kind of thing. Maybe they'll have them last longer, so then they'll overlap and then sure you can just have more time to complete them as a whole. I think that could definitely help and be one of the ways to lower the fatigue a bit.
They originally, in interviews before the game came out, said that they did not want Zenless to feel like a game that you had to play every day or you're gonna miss something. Which is like exactly how it is now. And so they were talking about, and along with the fact that they want to lessen the fatigue, they directly mentioned in the CN version the events unlocking daily feels like dog shit. So they're like, they may make it where the entire event when it goes live is just straight up open. Like however long you want to play, longer one day, less one day. You don't have to log on every single day to actually do the event.
As a prelude, hopefully, to the next podcast, by the time we host the next podcast, hopefully we should have a lot more information on the characters. My impressions of the typings and the agents' classes of the characters, I thought was going to be a little bit more creative. The characters I were disappointed with were Pani Hu and Jufufu being physical defense and fire stun. So I was really looking forward to a physical support. I was, and if so happens that, Jufufu was fire, I was thinking fire support.
I thought she was going to be an A-rank fire attack.
Yeah,
because
I
didn't
thought
think
it
she
was
gonna
attack
be an
as well.
S-rank.
Yeah.
I do think it's crazy that she's another S-rank fire stunner, but I mentioned this in the podcast. I don't think they're doing like an overarching what's missing. I feel like they're literally trying to make like every faction have like their own thing. Yeah, having an actual physical support would be nice. Where's that? How are we a year? I just realized that. How are we a year in and don't have a single physical support? That's crazy.
And to your point though, they don't need to cover that now. But hopefully down in 2.3, 4, 5, 6, we kind of round out the cast so that we can actually fill in the type chart here, right? And then from there, in terms of a meta perspective, we can be like, okay, these are the more profitable units in terms of your conversion of your investment to production. See, I'll let the future Josh and future podcasts us talk about it. So. Do we want to circle back to like some stuff in terms of catch up? Because I do want to also circle back and congratulate Age for hitting partner on Twitch.
Let's go, my goat partner.
Confetti,
Thank
which
you.
is in post. Let's.
You have the little check mark.
I do. I feel so official now. I didn't start like actually doing content, like posting videos and stuff, which is what you really need to grow.
Yeah.
Until around I think a year and a half ago now. So it's just been It's just been really cool. It's been a really cool journey. And because I've been trying to hit partner for a while, actually, because I just wanted the check mark. I just wanted to have it, and then if after I get the check mark, I fall off the face of the earth, then honestly, feel like I've just been doing the same thing since I started streaming, which is I play the game and I act like the court jester for chat to laugh at. So I am very, very grateful and owe a lot to, Josh and Az and a lot of other content creators who have, reached out to me to help me be more social because I've been a big loner for a very long time. Like Josh, you're actually one of the first people who reached out to me at the very first, the quiz tournament.
Oh yeah, that was like primarily
That wasn't-
initially
that
was
was-
for Genshin, but
Yeah.
we extended it to variety. Gotcha.
But yeah, the first time I got that message from you, I was honestly so shocked because I was like, really? You want me to be on your event? I'm so honored. I mean, I still am honored, don't get me wrong. Watching both of you guys and the content that you do, and especially how you guys always work so hard too, it really inspires me to want to do better as a content creator, branch out from just doing reactions, just gooning, and actually do, like make fun videos. And also, I'm just really glad to be here, okay?
You're so wholesome.
To the chat for also being so welcoming to me in general as well. It has really, really meant a lot. So big
Yeah.
heart. You won't get me.
Chat. Our next goal, we need to get as partner. Like legit as you have numbers in total that could get you partner. So we just gotta get if you guys are watching on the YouTube
To be
side,
fair.
you better open up a Twitch tab. Come on now.
I did not multi-stream for a long time. Like I did kind of neglect Twitch for a long. I just figured out how to properly raid. So like I'm raiding people now. So that's cool. I did make a bet today on Twitter that if I get to 20K subs on YouTube by the end of the year, I'll cosplay Trigger.
Oh yeah, I saw you talking about how no one cosplays Trigger. Okay.
Yeah, I was like,
you're
where's
doing
the Trigger
you're doing the Lord's
cosplays?
work.
And I was like, okay, yeah, if
Alright.
we get to 20K, I'll cosplay Trigger.
To be fair, like Trigger's got a lot of props.
I don't know how to cosplay. I post a whole list. I have a whole list of cosplays that I'm doing because I'm doing Seth just because I want to. Trigger is the new bet. Ting-Yun and Fugue, which is like I did a poll. I said, "Do you want me to do Ting-Yun's costume or Fugue's costume?" That one is still up. That one's still not confirmed yet. The bet was if the cat is Elio in HSR, then I have to cosplay Fugue. So that's there. And then chat said that that Ray is a female me, like Ray and Zenless. So I'm probably gonna also cosplay Ray at some point.
Yeah, Ray would be sick. Yeah,
that's the list. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are interested in the Genshin topic at all, because I did bring it up a little bit, but did you guys see the Nod Krai special program dev talk?
I didn't watch it, but I saw Arnold's Murder Birds like take on it, and it was really interesting to see that this seems to be very targeted towards like the lore people, like that's hype.
Yeah.
But I was surprised. I'd only seen positive things about it, but you said earlier that wasn't what people wanted to see.
Wait, can I have a TLDR
there?
Yeah. So TLDR, for those of you who are, outside of Genshin Impact, who left Genshin Impact, who saw some of the news about like some of the new stuff either on Twitter or, wherever they've been posting for this new trailer for Genshin. Initially, Genshin was thought to be, we go from region to region, we're Fontaine, we're in Netland now. Hey, guess what? It's supposed to be Snezhnaya next. But we're taking a pit stop at a sub-regional location of Snezhnaya called Nod Krai. And in particular, they're going to be focusing on a storyline that has been spanning the entirety of Genshin unbeknownst to a lot of people, the three Moon Sisters, the real gods, and this is not a spoiler, this has already kind of been proven stuff, basically. Throughout like lore, if you actually read it, they're proven they're supposed to be the real gods amongst the fake archons. Where the archons are fake gods.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
that were planted by Celestia. The whole rigmarole is that like everyone is confuzzled about Not Krai and the purpose of Not Krai, because why aren't we just beelining it to Snezhnaya? All right, people want to see Columbina, people want to unalive Dotori in Minecraft. All right, we want to see the Saritsa, right? The devs were mentioning, oh, we know that the storylines seem a little confusing, Genshin seems a little big, there's so many other plot lines and little unattached strings that we introduced throughout our 4 or 5 year tenure, and we're going to answer those in Not Krai. And it is exciting. It is exciting, to be fair, right? The three Moon Sisters is a greater overarching storyline that does pay homage and a nod to the overarching lore of Genshin, which is what we want to see. But in the way that they're executing it, they're dedicating a whole year to this.
A year. Oh wow.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna be honest. I think that's sick. I think that's needed.
No,
I
fair.
mean, to be fair, because I think this probably happened, because correct me if I'm wrong, but Genshin was originally supposed to be a 5-year game, and then they pivoted because of how popular it was and switched it to be a 10-year game. That sounds like that they needed that. I mean, if they knew that they didn't properly tie the threads together and they want to take the time to actually weave together all the threads, I'd rather them do it in like a year thing where they do it correctly, as opposed to like a 2-part thing. But I know people want to get to Snezhnaya, but if it's in Snezhnaya, then they can properly drip and like explore Snezhnaya lore still while doing this.
And there you go. And that's kind of the deeper conversation about it. Even at the end of Fontaine going into Natland, I was kind of already checked out. I was halfway through the door. So, you know, kind of seeing from the outside somewhat about the developments with Natland, people are, you know, kind of piggybacking off of that, being like, okay, Natland was rushed, so you're going to slow down and tell this overarching storyline. I guess that's a pretty good thing. But then the other side of that is that, so you're going to make a wrong, or sorry, you're going to try to correct a wrong with a wrong, because is this what the general player base really wants to see out of Genshin? Yeah, to the lore aspect, as I feel a little bit bad, because the lore and what they've touched on is like, hey, let's go back to Enconomia and look at murals. Let's go back to Sumeru and look at murals. Hey, do you remember when we introduced that underwater region in Fontaine that had some really cool lore? Don't forget, it had a mural. And like, we're going to go and, you know, presumably touch up on these areas within each of the returning regions that we go to, and then kind of circle back as Not Krai's our central point.
I mean, as long as Not Krai, okay, this is coming from a perspective of somebody who has not played Genshin, but to me, as long as the Not Krai area is unique and is not just a small little hub and actually has its own thing, that's interesting. Like, I think that's cool. The fact that they're trying to tie in the interesting and big lore questions, to me sounds sick. So you said that that's not what people want. I'm curious, isn't Genshin supposed to be the story game? Why do they not want the story? If Natlan was rushed and the most hyped place is Snezhnaya, why would you not want the extra time to have Snezhnaya be written correctly?
You know, there's some good points, right? But I think a lot of the sentiment around Genshin's Natlan story is that there's just so much missing, and it's so surface level from what we thought, even from a character development perspective, even from a lore perspective. Oh yeah, we got like 1 or 2 like really, really cool lore drops, but it was behind us like tumbling and falling to get there. Genshin right now is in a place where not a lot of people trust it.
For me, like the direction that Genshin was heading towards from those first 5 regions felt like it was going to be like a pretty like serious story, a very kind of intense. We're building up the stake, them basically having this control over the world, and how they have basically oppressed all of these different figures, these different powers from the past. And then next region we're going to, they teased at the end, was, I know this is, you've probably heard this a lot as a Genshin player. It seemed like we were going to go to the next region, which was a war-torn region with dragons. That was the wording they used to describe it. And then, you know, the aesthetic, the kind of like, you know, overall direction Natlan took for me was just so completely opposite from what I expected the story to head towards. So then Natlan as a whole has just been very uninteresting to me. I guess, like, in a sense, I personally lost a lot of my trust in the direction of Genshin as a game and for the plot because of the fact that they took Natlan in that direction. I understand. I know that the story itself, it's like, oh, there's death. There are a lot of like dark things happening, but still, like aesthetically and overall, like the way the story was written, it's still really not exactly what I wanted from Natlan as a whole. So then hearing about this Krai stuff, to me, actually sounds quite appealing because it kind of seems like they might be heading back towards the direction of, okay, we kind of like went a little bit crazy in Natlan. It kind of seems like they are like starting, like maybe taking a step back and being like, okay, let's go back to some of the roots that we have been building. I personally did not really see any of this Three Moon stuff because I guess I didn't keep up with a lot of the lore. I kind of like the idea of them taking a step back to kind of take a break from, I guess, the direction that they were heading towards. A year sounds like a lot. I do think a year is a little bit excessive. Obviously, it will depend on how they execute it. And to build on Josh's point, I don't think a lot of players have a lot of trust in Genshin to execute it well currently. And it's really hard for me to tell kind of, I guess, whether it's the right decision or not, once again, until we've seen them actually play it out, because from what it sounds like, it could very easily be a really epic arc, but it could also very easily be just them kind of doing a lot more filler. Built on top of the fact that I think Genshin did lose a lot of players from Natlan. You know, it's a very risky move for the game. Maybe we had a bit of a speed bump in Natlan, you know, maybe they were trying out something new. I personally didn't really think it worked, but I know there's people who still enjoyed it, but I'm willing to give like Genshin a chance again, you know, like in terms of what I want from it. It kind of upsets everyone, you know? It kind of upsets every group of player that we have left in Genshin. I really want them to execute it well, because if they do execute it well, honestly, I'll go back to the game. I'll go back to Genshin because I love the lore. Yeah. That's one of the things that drew me to it to begin with.
The core gameplay of Genshin has never really
been
expanded.
The most complex. No, that was going to be my next point. Is I think a lot of players are upset because, like you said, there's a lot of people who don't care about story, right? There's a lot of players who just skip story. So technically, them adding a story region should mean nothing to them. But then it's like, if you think about it, right? So like if you're from the perspective of a player who doesn't care about story and you're going to spend an entire year in a region that is just focused on story, while also they didn't mention anything about new game modes, expanding the combat system, expanding other things to do in the game, then that would definitely upset me, because it's like, okay, now you're going to spend all this time, you know, doing this like part of the game that I do not give a flying fuck about. So what am I supposed to do as a player who doesn't care about story, right? You did not make me any promises about any new game modes or giving me more stuff to do. That is not just reading. Yeah, but the thing is, they have also never said, okay, we're going to spend an entire year telling you just story. Right? It has been the kind of general understanding that, okay, we are going to go to a new region. The new region will have new things to do. I think it's fair to assume that this Krai region is not just going to be lore. They'll probably add in extra stuff too, hopefully. Yes. But then the main focus of, you know, them presenting this is like a year full of lore. So then everyone who does not care about lore is like, are you just shafting us? Like, what are you doing? It's like, you know, players are probably like, okay, so now you're gonna hold us off for an entire year, not even give us a new region where I can hope that there is some like new fun content. So then You know, I think that's like where a lot of the frustration is probably stemming from.
Yeah.
And then that's why it's so split, right? You have the people who care about it and the people who don't care about it. The people who care about it are like, finally, this is everything we've wanted. The people who don't care about it at all, you are literally telling us that we are nothing to you. You are telling us that we are just going to spend all of our efforts into something that we do not care whatsoever about. So then it's like,
when I was thinking of gameplay, I was not thinking of exploration. And so chat is right. Like, have they said how big this region is? Because yeah, I mean, a lot of people do only play Genshin legitimately as like exploration. So how big is this area?
They have not said anything at all, but it is teased that they are working on like a bunch, like they showed panels and stuff like that. So we can assume that it's maybe even half the size of a regular region. I don't think it's going to be a whole region. If it is a whole region, hey, you know, maybe it could, you know, beget more exploration and that stuff, which would be good.
I can definitely understand 100% the frustration from the exploration. I feel like, is this like the first dev talk that they've had in a long time?
Yeah,
like
actually,
straight up, just like what you
really?
see. Okay,
yeah, I
So
mean, they
here's the
have their
thing.
like special programs of like, oh, here's the new region, like, you know, those type of dev talks, like every, you know, but this is like
Yeah.
a special dev talk that we haven't really gone from Genshin in who knows how long.
So sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off, but
No.
in my mind, if we are now halfway through the life cycle of Genshin, if they want it to last 10 years and it has now been 5 years, and now everyone is like starting to get really frustrated and start leaving because of Natlan, I feel like now is a perfect time. Well, I guess this leads in with like it being really long for it taking a year. But if they want people to stay with Genshin, I understand not a lot of people want in-game modes, but they do need new game modes. Like they do need new stuff. They can't just be doing the same thing that they've been doing.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're actually able to see the dev talk now, I feel like they are realizing that they actually need to listen to the players now. Like if they want to go that other 5
Yeah.
years, then they need to start implementing shit that people have been wanting. Which in this case, this is going to be targeting the lore side, which I guess, yes, that's a huge dub for the lore people. But if now that that's like tied up, and now they had that extra work on Snezhnaya, then when Snezhnaya finally launches, then that other group is going to have a huge feast of like, now
Yeah.
we actually have this whole new area,
Yeah.
all this new content that they had extra time to work on, and maybe they could actually add new game modes, like whatever. Overall, I think it's interesting.
They need to really blow it out of the water for me to be really, really invested in it again. But I think that it's a good direction because, like you said, it means that they are taking a step forwards to trying to actually appeal to the players and their wants. I think up until now, they have just been kind of like washing their hands of everything. They're just doing whatever the hell they want. Whatever makes the most money.
Sure,
Screw
yeah.
all of the previous lore. Who cares? You know, cool motorcycle. Sorry, I'm not going to get into that. But I think, yeah, they definitely realize that we're just going to keep bleeding out. Sure, they still have one of the biggest player bases, okay? I still think that is the case. Clearly, it's a big enough issue that they feel threatened by that loss of player base, right? That means that there is something that the company is trying to get out of it, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
what does the company want more than money? And how do you get money? You get
Making
the
a good
players to play
product.
the game. You make the game better, you get more players to come back, to stick with the game. So that's what they got to do. So that in itself, for me, is what makes me kind of have more faith in Not Cry. The fact that at the end of the day, trust Hoyoverse or not, I can trust Hoyoverse to be a company with their best financial interests in mind. So
Yeah,
if they
that's fair.
feel that Not Cry is going to be something that has their best financial interest in mind, in the sense that I think that it is them trying to appeal to players once more, then I can trust that as a player, maybe I will get some of the stuff that I have been lacking and wanting.
Real.
That's
Right.
kind of how I
Goated
feel
speech.
about it.
Goated speech.
Sorry if I
No,
ranted
no.
a little bit. I am
No,
a very
no, I
disgruntled
ranted
Genshin
too,
player.
so,
I'm a very
yeah.
disgruntled Genshin player because I loved it so much. I
Yeah.
loved it so much for so long, and then, you know, being so disappointed with it for so long, the frustrations build up. So I am happy to see that it seems like they are trying to shift the direction.
To pivot a little bit, as if there's some
Oh,
lasting comments or topics we want to.
It's going to be a short topic. I just think it'd be interesting to talk about since we're on the podcast right now, and and it was recent news. I was gonna say, speaking of the company wanting to make money, there's a new Honkai game.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well,
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't hear about it.
Please
They
talk
haven't
about
done
it.
like an announcement,
Yeah.
but all of the channels have been found. Like they have all of
Oh.
the trademarks been founded. All the accounts
Yep.
are like basically ready to go live. What is it called? It's Honkai
Oh,
like
I don't remember.
something.
Nexus Anima.
Honkai Nexus Anima.
Yeah, Nexus Anima. Yeah. So this is
Okay.
supposed to. They announced a ton of games like at a like a Hoyo Expo or whatever it was. I don't remember what it's called, but I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be the like Pokemon
Yes.
Honkai game where you
Yeah.
like catch
Pokemon.
monsters and like raise them. But it has the
Huh.
Honkai name on it. So yeah, we have a new game coming. You ready to cover another game, Age?
I mean, honestly, hey, are there characters for me to goon to? Because I won't goon to Pokemon. I'll be.
I
so
don't know. I don't know. You don't have to goon to the
Hey,
monsters. You don't have to
people
goon to the
go-
monsters.
People goon to Pokemon. It's a thing.
Yeah, I
that is
just
true.
personally don't. I just personally, me personally.
Right. It has the Honkai name attached to it, so it'll,
Interesting.
we'll see where they go, but announcement soon, I guess.
I think I know when the announcement's gonna come.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, when?
Cause
you have an educated guess?
yeah, I mean, if you
Game Awards?
guys, well, technically the project was announced quite early, but Zenless Zone Zero was actually teased at Anime Expo
Oh,
in,
Wait,
I
what?
believe,
When?
2021. I believe there's inklings of Zenless Zone Zero when they announced Honkai Star Rail and the beta at Anime Expo. I remember seeing some of like the logo stuff, I believe, for Zenless Zone Zero, but there wasn't an announcement that they were going to announce Zenless Zone Zero at the Anime Expo. But there was some stuff while they were also hosting the Honkai Star Rail beta, because again, Honkai Star Rail came out a year before Zenless, and they were hosting already some of the play tests for Honkai Star Rail at the booth. I'm thinking we could see some teasing or you know, I wouldn't say a full announcement, hey, we're coming out with a game. I feel like we could see some stuff at Anime
Interesting.
Expo. I feel like we could see something this year, if not
That'd be
next, if
interesting.
it depending on like where they are in development, they you know,
Yeah.
on the big
So
stage.
you said that there was just logos of Zenless that
Interesting.
were shown at Anime Expo.
I don't have pictures of it. Damn, it was like 2021. And that point, I wasn't even paying attention to Zenless Zone Zero. I forgot what it was, but there were like teasings of Zenless Zone Zero.
Okay, was this after the website or was this before the website? Because the website came up in 21, and I remember when the website came up, everyone was like so surprised that this was happening because it was like a whole new thing. If there was like little small things and people just didn't realize Anime Expo, I think that's kind of sick.
I remember it was legit the Anime Expo weekend when they announced, or like they
Wait, is
teased
Anime
Zenless Zone
Expo
Zero.
the same like month every time?
July, yeah, early July. Again, take it with a grain of salt,
I mean-
folks. I might actually be fibbing, so don't mind me.
No. I think that'd be dope.
Who
I mean,
knows?
I would love to see it there. Plus, I mean, it's not like Anime Expo is a small, like they could definitely do a reveal at,
Yeah.
at Anime Expo. Everyone knew that they were going to do this when they started releasing multiple games, but they are legitimately trying to get a game in every market.
Different
Like
genre.
in every genre, they're trying to get a game in there, which is like, when are we going to call them a monopoly?
My small
But,
indie company,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Oh, Flower Event. We're not going to talk about that, by the way, chat. I'm the only one who's done it so far, so we're
We
going
can talk about it
to
next
let
time.
them experience it. Yeah, we'll talk about it next time. But yeah, so to wrap up, since I'm the host this time, Age, if you'd like to go first, since I introduced you first.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming. Hope you guys had fun. My name is HKK. I don't know how to pronounce my username. But yeah, I play lots of Zenless, Wua, Honkai Star Rail, Reverse, and hey, if the Notkai stuff is good, maybe I'll come back to Genshin too. We shall see.
there
We
we
shall
go.
see. And yeah, I post lots of reactions and covers on YouTube, and I'm trying to branch out and do more than just reactions. So I've been doing some story reviews. lately, actually. So,
Oh,
anyways.
hell yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been exciting, but yeah, that's me. That's me. Thanks so much for having me. Sorry if I got a little bit heated earlier when talking about Genshin.
No.
but
You needed to be heated. The
I
passion
needed
needs
to
be
let it
shown.
out, you know, my
the passion
frustration.
of the Genshin, community flowed within you. Yeah.
Yes, it.
Goated, and congratulations on reaching partner as well. Huge
Thank
job.
you again.
Everyone,
Thank you.
don't
Thank
forget
you.
to follow
Biggest
and check
celebrity,
out.
big celebrity.
Biggest celebrity, and then Josh.
Hey,
introduce.
folks. Yep. Things got a little heated at the end, but it was a fun conversation nonetheless. And hey, if you guys would like to catch more Zenless Zone Zero, a few Genshin stuff, I just started Wuthering Waves, so who knows? I could be, Anyways, I get sidetracked. Thank you guys for joining us, and you guys can catch me at Jshoea on all my platforms as I continue to talk about Zenless Zone Zero, current events, meta. I'm more of like the meta guy, so yeah, like combat. Come check us out over here. Before you finish with the big shebang.
Yeah.
We do have a Minecraft server that we're starting next week. So
is that next week?
It's already next week. Yeah. It's already next week.
Shit.
Yeah. It's already next week. So be on the lookout for us. You'll see us in the mines next week.
Anyway, my name is Azro Vanity. I stream on YouTube and Twitch. I'm on the opposite side of meta. I do lore. I mainly cover Zenless lore, but I am getting back into Honkai Star Rail, so maybe if I catch back up, then I can start making videos on Honkai Star Rail again. The only reason I dropped Honkai Star Rail before was because I would just dove head and entire body first into Zenless. But eventually, if I can ever make this a full-time thing, then I can get rid of my 9-to-5 and replace my 9-to-5 with other games. So that would be fun.
Hell yeah.
Yes, I stream on YouTube and Twitch. And what else? I'll be having a complete season 1 recap for Zenless, speaking of the lore. It's going to be like 2.5 hours long, probably. I have no idea exactly how long it's going to be, but it's probably going to be around
hype.
there. And then that'll get you ready for season 2 if you are not caught up on anything there. And an Exhaltists vid coming soon. That's it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for joining episode 8. Next time, I think we'll have a guest.
You know you want to. Come on now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Spotify was. Spotify and Apple Music, I think, and other places. So yeah, make sure to rate the podcast, be goated, and share it with your friends and your mom and your grandma and the rest of your family, because I'm sure they would love to hear us.
And your dog and your cat and your pet fish.
Yes.
Turtle.
Yep, that too. Yep.
Okay, let's cut it off before we go through the whole Noah's Ark. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, okay, bye. See you later.
Bye,
Thanks for
guys.
joining, chat. I appreciate it.
Thanks
Have a
for
good night.
listening.